Good morning. I hope all of you can hear me. Will somebody in the chat window please tag me at Region 14 Digital Streaming and say, yes, we hear you, or sound is coming through. It's kind of one of those things we want to check this morning. I thank all of you for being very flexible. We started out designing this class to be on our Zoom. However, we were asked recently to be able to try and test StreamYard to stream live through YouTube. And we wanted to do that because we are supposed to have over 100 people today in this session, and we only have 1 hour. Not a lot of interaction. And I thank you, by the way, for saying that the sound is coming through, Candace. But not a lot of interaction. We just need a lot of information to get out to you. So I'm asking all of you to please go into the chat window and let me know your name, your school district, maybe what you've taught. This is how we are taking attendance. We will go back through and double check that you have logged in to the chat for us. And if you've used Google Classroom before, I've seen a lot of you come across already on the stream telling me that you guys have used it during COVID. Some of you used it before COVID. Some of you were thrown into the mix. And so we hope to be able to review a lot of things for some of you, but also for those of you who weren't sure what you were doing, maybe clarify some things. I also saw a question come through. Someone asked me if we were offering the Google certification trainings again this summer. We have currently put those on hold, and Google is aware of that because Google is changing testing platforms. Kind of like going from ETS to Pearson. They are going from Criterion Web Assessor to ProctorU, and there have been a lot of glitches when they convert the test over to a new testing platform, and I don't want any teachers to feel stress just because of the actual platform. So we are not planning to offer it through Region 14. By all means, if you want to try it, go for it. We just heard a lot of people say there have been issues with the testing platform, and until that is ironed out, we didn't want to promote it to all of you. They are working on it. The content is still the same. It's a great thing for you guys to go ahead and prep for if you wanted to do the online information. Specifically today, we are here to talk to you about Google Classroom for Beginners, getting you started to set things up. Anytime you have a question today, go ahead and ask it in the chat. Yes, we don't mind if you talk to each other and answer each other's questions because you might see a question before I do. But tag someone with the @ symbol and start typing their name and it'll pop up, and that person only will get an alert in the chat window. This session is being recorded, and the presentation that you're going to see today, you're going to get a link to that as well. This particular link that you clicked on to join this YouTube session is the exact same link that will work for the recording for you to go back later. You will also be able to share it with other people in your district or on your campus that might need it if you're doing new hires and that type of thing. So with that being said, and also this presentation link will be in the description after today is over. That being said, let's go ahead and get started because we have a full day today. Hillary Miller is with me. Hillary, wave at the camera for a second.
Hello.
Hillary and I are both digital innovation consultants here at Region 14. We are both certified Google trainers, and we would love nothing more than to help you get prepped and ready to go for a smooth year. All right, with that being said, let's go on. Google Classroom for Beginners. Here is what our agenda looks like today. We're going to talk about making a plan, how to create a new class, what I refer to often lovingly as the pancakes, what's behind that particular location and what you can do there, the cards that you see on the front of your screen, overall settings for the entire Google Classroom platform, individual in-class settings, what the different tabs are, and then give you some guides and resources for teachers, students, and parents. With that being said, let's kick it off. Let's talk about making a plan. First and foremost, all of you utilize your summers more often than not to get ready for your next school year. You redo your classroom, you organize, you put things in a particular spot. Some of you redecorate. You get ready for the new year and for the new group of students. And one of those things that you really want to be aware of is that Google Classroom as a platform is not for you as a teacher to design it the way you like it so much as it is what's going to be the best way for my students to learn through this platform. And so you want to think about what age group do you have? So Google Classroom can be utilized, and I will let you know, pre-K through 12th grade. It has been utilized throughout Region 14. I know we've had a pre-K teacher to use it in centers. I also know that we have many people at the secondary level using it. But how it looks for an elementary classroom and a secondary classroom, as well as for a superintendent or a principal to put you guys as teachers in as students for them to transfer information back and forth, is completely different. So you want to take some time this summer to think through, okay, what grade am I teaching? What is my subject area? And how would I normally teach this in a face-to-face environment? Here's the big kicker and the number one reason that many of our teachers struggle with online learning, and that is that they try to transfer every single thing that they do in the face-to-face classroom to an online moment. And unfortunately, not every activity and thing we try to do face-to-face transfers. So what you want to consider in running this as an online platform is actually transforming your content. You want to transform it for an online moment. And that's one of the things we look forward to helping you with. Grading. You're going to have to consider, are you going to use the grading platform that comes inside of Google Classroom in order to give grades, and what kind of grades and is your grading platform? So for example, does your district or your campus use total points, or do you use percentages? So tests are worth this much of my grade, homework is worth this much, quizzes are worth this much, a project is worth this much. You're going to have to plan that out before you ever start utilizing the platform. Due dates are also going to be important. Are you going to be giving due dates to students? Due dates show up on the calendars, and due dates are what your individual parent reports receive. They know if something's late or missing or assigned by due dates. Many times teachers don't utilize that, and then kids wonder what they, quote, had as an assignment. So keep that thought in mind. Using it for announcements, not just assignments. Are you going to post the things that you would have written on a whiteboard, such as don't forget to bring a permission slip, or don't forget we have a test coming up in 2 weeks? What kinds of things would you make as announcements? Guardian summaries. Many of you have never utilized them. That is something that your district and your campus needs to discuss. But Guardian summaries give parents digest or daily information about students missing work, and it will automatically send it to an email address. And then I'm going to show you some things about topics and numbering and question mark for feedback. So the topics is the way that you organize a Google Classroom. There are numerous ways to utilize topics, but you guys need to think about what works best for your classroom. So for example, you see some screenshots here. A self-contained classroom teacher might have topic strictly by subject area: language arts, math, science, social studies. It might be easier, back to planning for your kids and not for you, to do it by dates. Notice here's a week or maybe a class date, and then separating out resources for kids. In the particular screenshot over here, you see Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. How do you normally teach in that face-to-face environment that might be helpful? Down below, you see classroom materials versus here's what you have to do today versus bell ringers. For some kids, that's going to be important. Today, about resources. Is it by unit? You can have several ways to do it, but that's a great thing to be planning out prior to starting Google Classroom. What would be the best way for me to create these topics to help my students understand? Numbering assignments. So one of the best practice suggestions that teachers have for both you as a teacher and the student is to number your assignments using a 3-number numbering system. So for example, even though this is under the topic Unit 1 Civil War, #001, the Battle of Gettysburg digital story, You number the assignment as well as all the attachments that go with the assignment. And you will see that throughout these examples. Makes it easier when you actually go into the Google Drive Classroom folder that is tied to this particular lesson to see in order all the assignments you've given. It's kind of that Marie Kondo moment of how in the world would be the best way to do this for both me and my students. And I just want you to know in this resource presentation that we are giving you, both with the topics, I'll go back to this section here, and this one on numbering, we have hyperlinked the actual buttons to jump to resources explaining all of this on each page, and you will get this at the end of today. The next thing that we wanted to talk about in making a plan is for you to be aware of the question mark. The question mark located in the lower left-hand corner of your screen inside of Google Classroom. First of all, you will see pop-ups periodically when you log into your classroom that'll say, hey, something new has occurred, or they've updated the platform, and a lot of people are very confused by that. Well, wait, what was updated? You can always click that question mark, and then you can go to what's new, and it will show you the latest updates to the platform. Very, very important for you is the report issue or request feature. Believe it or not, this is the place that the Google developers actually look all of the time to decide what new features that a teacher will need. So if there's something you would like to see that it doesn't do for you, request that feature. The more people that request that feature, so get all your buddies up and down the hall to request a feature, the more likely it rises to the top of their alert list that, hey, teachers would like it to do this. And that is indeed what they work on for the next update. I can tell you just right when COVID happened, one of the things I reported was that we would love to have Google Meets tied into Google Classroom. That's the video platform. And I posted that to our trainers community, and everybody that actually went in and did that received an email. I got an email alert from Google saying, thank you for your feedback. Your feedback is a feature request we are now working on. And then now it's part of the Google Classroom platform. Help Center and Help Community. Community of educators versus the actual support documents that Google puts out. Both of those are great resources for you to have. If you can't get to Hillary, you can't get to me, you can't get to somebody on your campus, that's where you need to go. So be familiar with the question mark in the lower left-hand corner. The next thing we want to talk about is creating a new class. There are several ways to do that, and I'm going to actually demonstrate this section. I'm going to add a new tab here. One of the ways that I can do that is typing classroom.google.com. By typing that, it'll go straight to the platform, or I can use what we like to call the waffles and find my class icon. For those of you who have a single sign-on district, something like Clever or ClassLink, your kids will be logged into that platform and will see this same icon. When you go to that particular moment, it will open up your classroom portal. To create a new class, you simply hit the plus in the upper right-hand corner. Now, as a teacher, as an educator, all of you should see the option to join a class and to create a class. If by some reason you log in and you click the plus and all you see is join, what that simply means is that Google is unaware that you are a teacher. It's a quick phone call or an email to your tech director to say, hey, I can't create a class in my Google Classroom, and they can, in about 3 clicks, make that accessible to you. So don't get scared if you don't see that option. Students, however, should only see the join class option. If I'm going to create a class, I click create class. And here's where you type your name of class. You can put a section if you wanted to. You can put a subject, you can put a room number, anything you want to, but the requirement is that the name of the class must be there. And then you simply hit create, and it will take you to the class. Here's a screenshot that will show you more on the actual presentation, the 3 ways you might be accessing it at your school. There's what you should see as a teacher. And now we're going to talk about the pancakes. The pancakes will talk about your classes, an internal calendar, what you are teaching, what you're enrolled in, archived classes, and settings for all classes. So switching back here, Pancakes are in the upper left-hand corner. When I click my Pancakes, the first thing I see is classes, and it's going to always take me back to this card screen here. So many of you may want to be familiar when you get lost inside of a class and you don't know where to go to get back to your other classes, click your Pancakes and click the word classes, and it will bring you to this screen. Also under the Pancakes, I have a calendar. This calendar is internal only. Internal, I mean to the Google Classroom application. In this particular case, the only thing that will ever show up on this part of the calendar are assignments that have due dates, and it shows up on the due date. This is not the regular Google Classroom or Google Calendar, which is up here in this corner, would launch you into the application. This is internal to Google Classroom. I'm going to go back to my Pancakes, and I'm going to click on To Do. Notice To Do is under the word Teaching. As a teacher, for all classes or individual classes, what do I need to do based upon due date? Okay, I have a lot of things that I do with actual teachers, and I don't grade your stuff very often at all. In this case, though, I will show you Albany ISD subject area presentation. I assigned 4. I have 8 turned in, 4 that are assigned that the kids have never done anything with, and 1 that I've graded. So if I have 8 turned in, I know I have work to do, and I can click here and start grading. At any given time, if I have looked over assignments and finished with them, and I've graded everybody's, grades are recorded, I've done everything I need to do, I have chocolate chips that will let me mark this entire assignment as reviewed. When I do that, it'll disappear from my to-do list, and under reviewed, I can see that I have looked at this and I am finished with this particular moment. Okay, so you guys kind of want to be aware that you have a to-do list just like students would. Under the Pancakes, now all of these go straight to my individual classes. And I will tell you right now, I wish Google would get rid of this because I don't need it when I can go to the classes section and see them all here. But that's one of those feature requests that not enough people feel the same way I do. When I click in this section too, notice once again, this heading said this is my to-do list for the classes I'm teaching. I can scroll all the way down here and say, well, what about my to-do list for the classes I'm enrolled in? And this is what your students will see. So I'm going to click on my to-do list, and you'll see that for one class that I'm a student in, I am missing an assignment. Missing, it's due this date, and I didn't turn it in. Kids can also adjust between the classes, and once they are finished with the assignment, they will have a done section over here to show them that they have finished the assignment. The next thing under my Pancakes takes me all the way down to the bottom is to archived classes. When I click on my archived classes, you should note that these cards have little lines all the way through them, showing me that I removed these classes from my actual class card page that we see when we first logged in. And I did that because I didn't necessarily want to delete everything, but I was complete with this class. This is what I would do. This is your Marie Kondo moment for how can I remove classes that are on that card from last year, but I don't want to delete all the content. They're going to appear in archived. Now with an archived class, I can click straight into that class. That title is hyperlinked. You'll see that. I can click straight into who are the students that were in my class. I can see all of the assignments that were part of that class. I can go to the grade book for that class. What was graded? What did I grade as a teacher? And I can go to the folder that's inside of Google Drive. But I can also click these little chocolate chips in the top, move the cards around, which I can also drag them, but it allows me to move them someplace in the list in a different order. It allows me to copy the entire class to utilize as a live class. A lot of teachers, that's something you are going to want to do. I can restore it back to a live class that appears on my cards page, or now I have the option to delete it altogether. And I would not recommend deleting it altogether for a couple of years probably. That's what you find in archived classes. The last thing down here in the bottom is overall settings for the entire Google Classroom application. And I'm going to hold off on talking about that because Hillary's going to do that in just a few minutes. But I am going to go back to my classes tab. These are all live classes. Showing you the presentation, we've marked off what the sections are, letting you know this goes to the cards. This is internal only calendar. You have a section for teaching, and if your principal or an ESC employee consultant puts you in a class that you are enrolled as a student, you'll have that section as well. And remember that this settings is overall settings for the entire Google Classroom application. Your internal calendar, you have a page here to remind you what this is. You also have this button linked to further explanation. Remember that only due dates will show up on this calendar, nothing else, and it's inside of the classroom application. Your Teaching to Do tab will bring up all classes unless you select an individual class, letting you know if you have due dates applied, and you'll be able to see at a glance what do you as a teacher need to review, need to do something with. Under the Enrolled to-Do list, you'll see your classes, and this is what students will see as missing assignments or things that they need to do. Once again, in your archived classes, and this button is linked for you, you can move, copy, restore, and delete. And now I'm going to move on to cards. Okay, our cards, back to where we talked about when you first enter the platform. Here are my cards. Every one of these cards is draggable and movable, so I can say I'd like it in this order. So it doesn't matter how you create them this summer. If someone who likes things in order, maybe you want to do it by class period, first, second, third, fourth, fifth period, simply drag these around so they're in the right order that works best for you and your organization. Every one of the classes are hyperlinked here by title or name of the class that would take you straight into the class. If I click on it, you'll see it goes straight into my class. Now to get back to my cards, I click on the Pancakes and I click on Classes. Every one of them are linked straight to the students enrolled in those classes. And so I can click and go straight to my student list. It goes to People, and I see all of my students. And I have, once again, what I lovingly call the chocolate chips in the corner, letting me move it up and down in this list, drag and drop here, which I just prefer dragging them to where I want them so I can visually see it. I can edit. Now, when I say edit, the only thing that pops up really to edit is the class name and information I typed in when I actually created the class at the very beginning with the plus. I can copy the class. This is our best recommendation if you plan to utilize most of the same assignments from last year and a course you're teaching next year. You can copy the class, copy actually the attachments as well, but it doesn't copy the students over there because you're going to have new students. And then, of course, I can archive it to move it off of this card page, but then actually put it in the archived section. As a teacher, I can open my gradebook straight to that class where I see all of my assignments. I can go in and edit grades for kids. I can view what they actually turned into me. I can find out information about the assignment. All of that is available simply by clicking this little button here. And there's a classroom folder inside of Google Drive. So Google auto-magically, is what I like to say, creates a classroom folder inside of your Google Drive. Do not delete that folder. Do not try to mess with that folder. That's where it's going to store everything tied to every single class and to every single assignment in that class for both you as the teacher and to the student. Many times when teachers contact me and say that a student has said that they don't have an assignment or they can't find the class anymore, one of the things we can check right off the bat is logging into their Google Drive to see if they deleted that Google Classroom folder or the class folder. We can restore that, but that is one of the biggest issues that we have, people don't know what that folder is and they try to delete it out of their drive. This will launch straight into your Google Classroom folder. For a teacher, you notice that I don't have any picture showing up in this card because these are the classes I teach. For your students, they have a picture of their teacher. I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to have your professional looking picture for your students so they know which teacher is which class, especially if you're in Merkle and everybody has a purple banner or a purple header across the top. The actual picture that the student sees will remind them of whose class they're actually in when they have different assignments. For the student, the only difference that you will see here is they can get into the class. They can email the teacher by clicking the teacher's name. They can move their cards around, and yes, unenroll is an option. Now, we can't prevent that, but depending upon how they actually enrolled in the class, and Hillary's going to go over a couple of ways to enroll, your district may have the option or setting turned on where it's automatically enrolling students into classes, and if so, every single night it would re-enroll them if they tried to unenroll. Many times when you see a student who tells you they don't see your class, especially secondary, they've unenrolled themselves. That becomes a discipline issue. You can quickly check your classroom list of people. Hillary will show you that tab, and you can re-add them or re-invite them back into the class without losing any of their assignments or things that they've done. Where you as the teacher will see a launch my gradebook, the student will see open my to-do list or my work list for playground, in this case, this class. I can see all assignments I have as a student, things that are assigned to me, things that have been returned to me, and things that are actually missing. So you can help your student navigate just by clicking on their classes section, logging in, and say, click here to see what all you guys need to be doing. And then, of course, that goes to their folder as well. Here's the screenshots that go with this moment to remind you this opens the class. This goes to your People tab. Here's what you can do behind your chocolate chips, and this is what it does for the teacher. On the student side, this is what's different. Notice with the open work, it can be divided out into multiple ways. And now I am going to see if there's any questions that have come through that I might need to answer before Hillary takes over at this section. I'm going to pull this screen back. Have we had any questions that I might need to answer over here? I'm trying to see. Susan, I guess you got in. I see that Susan told me that she needed to refresh the screen. I don't really see any major questions. I will tell you this, I have a little bit of lag time on my side from getting your questions in my stream. But I'm not really seeing anything at the moment that we may need to answer. At this point, I'm going to let Hillary take over with her screen. And she's going to continue, and I'm going to start answering questions if I see them. Hillary, was there anything you saw that I needed to answer right off the bat?
The only one that I saw is that we have several pre-K teachers I noticed in when they were commenting, and I believe she may have missed the very beginning on the suggestions that we had for the pre-K. So
right. Okay. So I know that they've been used in centers. Some have it set up where each kid does have a login, and they use a QR code to scan into maybe a Chromebook to fill out a form, something like here's how I'm feeling today form, that type of thing. I've seen that done in a pre-K classroom. And for parents trying to use it, at the end of this session today, part down, I guess is one of the last slides we have, has resources for parents to understand both the guardian summaries that they receive and for parents to understand how to navigate it from their side or what their students are up to. I do see another question. So I'm going to take this one down.
oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to hide this one, and I'm going to bring Brenda's up. Oh, maybe it's Mary. Mary, here we go. She said, when I posted the Google Meet link, it seems to expire. How do I work with this? Okay, so great question. It is going to expire because you don't want kids in and out at different times if you have it set to be disabled. And it will be something that we will actually talk in detail about on Wednesday in our intermediate section about all that you need to know with Google Meet. I do want to go ahead and plug that for those of you who have not registered. We're doing this again on Wednesday with intermediate and on Friday with advanced settings and giving you more detail. There's a lot to cover. So in this 1 hour, that's about where we're going to leave off. And remember that every one of these are being recorded. You can always go back and watch at your own pace because we know we're going through this pretty fast. And you will have the actual presentations that we're clicking through as well. Good question.
Christy, there's one more.
Okay, if you'll click on it. Can I move assignments from archived classes? And Jessica, I'm assuming you're talking about can you reuse them in another class or can you use them in a class next year? And yes, we will show that there is a reuse button and you can reuse assignments that you gave in a class that is archived. That's a great question.
Okay.
Anything else you see?
I think that's it.
Okay. Go for it, Hillary. Continue on.
Okay. Okay, so I am going to talk about your overall settings. And this is back to where Christy was talking about the pancakes. And when I click on the pancakes and scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see the settings. And this is for your Google Classroom settings overall, not your individual class, your overall. So she was talking about the profile picture and how it's best practice to have a good professional picture there. So if I click the change, this is where I can upload a picture or take one that I can use as my profile picture. And this is what your students will see in their tabs. For notifications on the email, you can toggle this on to receive email notifications or toggle it off. When you have it on, you have these options that you can customize. So for comments, you can see who comments on your post, comments that mention you, private comments on work. Then you have the option for comments on classes that you're enrolled in. So this is the section that your students can make sure that they have toggled on if you want them to receive email notifications or text alerts to for assignments or things that they need to do for your class. On the classes that you're enrolled in, you can see work and other posts from teachers, returned work and grades from your teachers, invitations to join classes as a student, and those due date reminders for your work. Now, for classes that you are the teacher, you can receive notifications through email for late submissions of student work, or if a student resubmits their work, invitations to co-teach classes, and if you have a scheduled post, publish, or fail. Now, down at the bottom on the class notifications, there's a drop-down menu where I can drill into each specific class. So maybe you might have a class that you're working with like lesson planning with each other. You may not necessarily want notifications turned on for that class. So if you and your grade level teachers are working on that, you may not want those notifications turned off. So if like this playground one is just kind of one that I get in and kind of test out things, so I could turn the notifications off on that. But yet I may, on my UIL chess, my kids may need to talk and ask a question to me. So obviously I'm going to want that one left on. So we talked about the profile picture, and Christy did a good job mentioning the teacher view versus the student view. And so when the students see that they're a student in the class, then remember that teacher picture is going to be on that card. And for you teachers, it will not be. So back to the notifications. Notice that when we were going over these at the bottom on the class notifications, the only one that mentions the mobile is the bottom one on the specific individual classes. Okay, so remember, if you've got those email notifications turned on and then you toggle each individual class, and you want to receive the mobile notifications, that it could get a little crazy and messy. So next I'm going to talk about the in-class settings. And so on the general, under the general settings, we have where you have the class code, you have the stream that's kind of like the Facebook feed, classwork on the stream, whether you want to use it or not use it, and best practices for that, deleted items, Guardian summaries, and then the Google Meet. And then we'll talk about grading in the next one on Wednesday, but kind of show you where that's at as well. So let me jump back over there. So I have pulled up a class. And so this is one that we had done this last summer. And so on the in-class settings, you have the gear that is over on the right. So when I click on it, I have my class details, and that's where you set up your information and what you named your class. I have under general, the class code. There is a drill down. I can display that code. And if the students are having a hard time in the back seeing, I have the option right here to make it full screen, to make it bigger. Then there's the icon that I can minimize it smaller, or I can close it. Then the settings for the stream. Students can post and comment. Students can only comment. Only teachers can post or comment. And so at the beginning, you're probably going to want to set it to where only teachers can post or comment, just until you lay the ground rules of how everything in the digital etiquette is going to happen for your Google Classroom. And you can also have students can only comment, so that they're able to interact with their peers maybe later on. Maybe secondary, you want this for some peer feedback. But you're probably not going to want students can post and comments, because you never know what they might try to stick out there. Then we have the classwork on the stream. You have the ability to show attachments and details, show condensed notifications, or hide notifications. And I kind of want to show you that one real quick. So right now, this is what the stream looks like. And you see all of these assignments that are here, but if I tell it to hide it, so I'm back in my class settings, and I say hide notifications, then when I look at it, oops, I didn't save it, huh? Then it's going to, it would take all those back up, and then they would only see the work that's on the classwork. So that's a good best practice to hide that beginning page. So in my class settings, underneath the classwork on the stream, I have show deleted items. I also have the Guardian summaries. So if you're wanting your parents to get email notifications about assignments and to keep them in the loop, you may want to turn this on. And you also, if you do not have the ability to turn that on, you may need to check with your tech directors. And then underneath, we have the Meet, where we can generate a Meet link inside the classroom. We can make it visible to students or not visible to students, and I would leave that turned off right now. And we'll go in more on that on Wednesday. And then we have the grading, where you can set up your categories. You do no overall grade, total points, weighted by category. And you can add categories that you may need. So here are some screenshots on that. So on the class code, remember, you have this code. You can display it, copy, reset, or disable. Once you get all your kids into the classroom, you may want to disable that. And that way that code can't fly out there and other students can join in and get into your classroom. You have the ability to reset that code. So if you need to, it'll generate a new code that people can't get in with the old one. Then on the stream, we've highlighted, and on these screenshots, the best practices are in the green. So the best practice is that students can only comment. Classwork on the stream, you want to hide those notifications and get your students used to going to the coursework tab. Then you can show the deleted items, the guardian summaries, and then the meet. And then once again on the grading, more information on the Google Classroom Intermediates to come on Wednesdays. So now our next section is tabs. So you have in your Google Classroom, you have 4 tabs. You have the stream, the classwork, people, and grades. So we'll talk about what's under the stream tab, the header information, your upcoming, posting your info. There's that reusing that we'll go over, and how to post, schedule it to go out later, or just to make it a draft that you can use later or double check things. And classwork, how you create, how to use the Google Meet, the calendar, and your Drive folder. And then for people, how to add co-teachers, add your students, and for grades. So under the classwork tab, you have the ability on the side to add topics. And I'm sorry, on the stream, you have the upcoming up here. You have your header that has your class code that you can do the same thing on the display. You can maximize it or minimize it. You have the Meet link. And right here, it's showing that it's not visible to students yet. But then when you click that button to toggle it on for students, then it will be visible and they'll be able to click that and join. Remember on the upcoming section here that your students aren't going to see anything unless you have a due date. So nothing will show up there unless due date. And to on the stream, the best thing to put here are announcements. So when I want to create an announcement, remember Christy was talking about those field trips, bring your permission slips. When I click in here to share something with my class, I have the ability to pick which class I want to send the materials to or the announcement. I can choose by individual students. So this is a good time for like the differentiation. I may only want 5 or 6 kids to get this. And then I can make my announcement with my class. So once I say announcement, I can add maybe something that's in my Google Drive, like a flyer or something, or maybe that copy of that permission slip, a link to something, file, or a YouTube video. And when I'm ready, then I can choose the drop down. So I can post it right away. I can schedule it for later. So I can tell it what time I want it to go out, or I can save this as a draft. Okay, and so then my draft is saved and I can use it later. So the next tab is our classwork tab. This is where you can make your topics. So under the create, down at the bottom, the topic. So this is going back to your make a plan and how you want to set that up, because it's going to look different for everybody. And we have some on the resources at the bottom. Today we have a lot of links to different people's opinions or ideas about how to set those topics up. You also have at the top the Google Calendar and the Class Drive folder, and these are external apps. So this actually will go out to the Google Calendar, and When you make a class, it automatically makes a calendar inside your external Google Calendar, and then the class drive folder will go to your Google Classroom folder inside your drive, where you can see all your assignments. On the People tab, so if you're wanting to add a co-teacher, you're going to click the little icon to invite the teacher. Now, when you have a co-teacher, they're going to have all the same rights as you do, except they cannot delete the class. So they'll be able to communicate back and forth with the students. On the students, you can type in their email, or you can have them join by that class code. So, whenever we had the class code and you hit display, then they could type that code in and join. Now, Christy was talking about how the tech directors can set it up to where it can automatically enroll them if you have that capability as well. On the students, I have the ability, when I select one on the actions, I can email them, I can remove them, or I can mute them. So maybe you have students that when they're posting in the stream or commenting, they're not being on task, or they possibly might be inappropriate. You could mute just that one student and not ruin that ability to comment for everyone. So that's how you would do that. So I can mute them, and they can still submit work. Other students won't see it. They can't reply to classmates' work, and they can't comment or post, but they can still turn in work and do whatever they need to there. I have the ability here as well to invite guardians. So this is where you can invite them for the parent guardian summaries. If one teacher, that's all it takes to put the email in. So usually we use the homeroom teacher. Will type the emails in of the parents and invite the guardians, and then therefore it's automatically turned or can be used for all the other teachers as well, as long as you have in your settings that guardian summary turned on. So if you're a teacher that the kids are not or the parents are not receiving those guardian summaries, then you might need to check into your overall Google Classroom settings and make sure that that is toggled on. And then the last tab is grades. And we'll get more into the grades on Wednesdays, but this is where your grade book is for your assignments. So just remember on the screenshots, the upcoming, it will not show anything there if there is not a due date. And when you go to make an announcement to your class, remember you have the option to do one or more classes. You can have one or more students. You can add all these different things, the Google Drive, the link, the file, the YouTube, and don't forget that drop down arrow for being able to just post it, or the option to schedule it or to save a draft. And then at the top, you have those external apps that links to your Google Calendar and to the Classroom folder in your Google Drive. And you can move your topics up and down and rearrange them. And then on the classwork, we'll go more into, we have another workshop coming up that's all online. That's the Google Galore. We'll explore the Google tools a little more in depth, and you'll have the ability to interact with it a little more. And so we'll go over how to exactly do an assignment, the quizzes, and all that other, and reusing the post a little later. And then we also have more attached resources on that at the bottom. And then back to the people, that's where you can add the co-teacher. And remember, they can do everything you can except for delete the class. And then you have the students where you can invite the guardians. You have one teacher, remember, that's all it takes. So just homeroom teachers, usually what we do, or maybe first period classes, all invite if you're secondary. and then more information to come on the grades. And so with our guides and resources, we have teacher guides, student guides, parent guides. And so for the teacher, these are just some links to things that I really like. First day of Google Classroom is from Google, and I want to show you that one. It goes in and it has a teacher's lounge that has little short videos on exactly how to do certain things. So if you just want to know about creating an assignment and how to add a topic, there's your video for just that. Or here's how to add the students and the guardians. So it's just another resource for you. And then the Google Classroom cheat sheets for teachers and students is from Casey Bell with Shake Up Learning. And all you have to do is subscribe to her newsletter, and she doesn't spam you, and she gives a lot of great tips and tricks in there in that newsletter. But once you sign up for that, then you'll have PDF copies of her cheat sheets for teachers, and then a separate one that's a cheat sheet for students. And then, of course, ditch that textbook. If you were with us with Matt Miller earlier this month, he has tons of Google Classroom resources. And then Eric Kurtz with Control Alt Achieve, he has Google Classroom video series that's kind of like the first day of Google Classroom, that's step by step over small chunks of different topics. And then how to directly link an assignment in Google Classroom. So if a kid has, this is especially good for if a kid is missing work from you, you can actually copy the link of that assignment and send it to the parents, and it will take them straight to that assignment in Google Classroom without them having to go try and hunt it down. And so the next one is, oops, sorry. Hello. Okay, the next one is the student guides. The Student's Quick Guide to Google Classroom with Shake Up Learning, again with Casey Bell, and the Student's Guide to the Google Classroom Video, and that's with Fried Technology. And this one kind of came in handy during COVID with having students how to turn in work to Google Classroom with a cell phone picture. So there's a little video on that. And then for the parents' guides, the Parents' Guide to Google Classroom in 2020, and it walks them through exactly what a parent will see. And there's also a link here to get Google Classroom email summaries for parents and how to use Google Classroom for parents. That is a teacher who did it because of his son having to use Google Classroom and wanting the parents to see from a parent perspective, but it's a really good video as well. So any questions, Christy?
Yes, I'm going
See
to come
come
up here
through?
and show a few things. First of all, Melissa, when you were talking about notifications, she says, oh, yes, so many emails, notifications all day and night. One of the things you want to plan for, but then go in to do once you start setting everything up, is those overall settings, and go down to the notifications and really think through what you want. I'm going to hide that one and bring up Stephanie. Stephanie said, will my last year students have access to a class once I have archived it? The answer to that is no, in the sense that that class will not appear on their screen as well. As far as what is in their Google Classroom folder, you're going to have to do some navigating through that moment and ask specific questions when you come up against a possibility. It doesn't delete their work, but their viewing should be minimal. Let's see what else we have here. Misty says, if you change the settings for notifications, does that change it for your co-teacher as well? No, it does not. Those settings are adjusted inside of the overall application settings by user. And I see that Sean tried to answer that for her, so I appreciate that, Sean. It is by user. So you will want to, the only thing that they would share with you is the in-class settings. The in-class settings are the same for both teachers, but the notifications are set through the overall class settings for the application. Mike asked, do you make your own class code? And the answer to that is no. However, and I see that Candace, thank you for asking him, you can constantly be changing it. So I will be honest with you, sometimes when they have an L or an I and kids get confused as to which letter that is, I just reset the code to a different code to let it auto generate another one. And that is inside of the in class settings per class, the gear in the upper right hand corner. And I can show that really quickly. If I add this back to the stream for you, inside of this class, here is the class code that's auto-generated. I can reset it to a different one as many times as I need to. And when I finally get what I want, then I display it for the students. So it auto-generates those for you. Let's see, do we have any others in here? We have, is there a way to choose, let's show this one. Is there a way to
Yeah.
choose multiple classes to assign and schedule it for a later date? Notice Hillary shaking her
Yeah.
head.
We would all love that, wouldn't we? This goes back to the submit feature. When Christy said that question mark inside of Google Classroom to go request a feature, go request it over and over, share it with anybody you can.
I want you to consider that one of the reasons that has not been an initial feature is because a lot of teachers initially make assignments based upon class periods, at the secondary level especially. So take that to an in-class moment. When I taught in the classroom in the high school, if I had something due in first period, it was due in first period. They couldn't turn it into me during fifth period. And so I actually put a physical time at that moment. It is due between 8:30 and 9:45. After 9:45, I will not accept that assignment. Most teachers in Google Classroom utilize the idea of scheduling it for a particular day, but don't actually put the hour in there. However, if you want to assign it to multiple classes and it is specific to the hour it's due, you cannot multi-post at the same time for it to schedule multiple time slots. So that is the reason it has never been an actual feature, was assuming that teachers would want, if it's due in first period, it's due in first period. But it's something that many people like because of our flexibility with online classes. So for sure, use your question mark and actually put that out there. Candace says, how do we get the links to all of this information for students and parents? As soon as this is over, I'm going to update the link to your YouTube, and down in the description, you will have the link for this presentation to open it up and click it as many times as you want. In fact, in just a few seconds, I will actually put it in the comments and you'll have links to all of this. That's a great question. Are any of these guides and resources available in Spanish? Yes, but I don't know if we linked to all of them. So Erica, let us know what you specifically want in the Spanish realm, because we have lots of trainers that work with us with Google who translate things into Spanish. One feature I'd like to see is the ability to turn off for students to turn in assignments after so many days late. Please request that in the question mark. No longer accepting submissions. I've heard that from several people. All right. Other questions? Do you see any more coming in, Hillary?
I don't yet.
Before you guys get out, I'm going to go ahead and get the share link for you, so just hang on. Anything else you can think of, Hillary, we need to share to them?
I do not. Thanks for being patient
Hey,
with us as we try this out.
I know. Let us know too. I mean, we don't know how well this worked for you. For us, it's worked really well, and I'm going to see if this presentation is going to go real quickly. And it looks like I can drop this in for you. So right now, I am pasting and seeing if all of you get the link to this presentation that you can click on. I am glad you got to join us today. We're going to try to be respectful of your time. Go ahead right now if you want to be in our intermediate class where we discuss rubrics and we discuss grading, we discuss Google Meet, we discuss customizing your header. And Hillary, if you'll share your screen up there with our contact information. Here's our contact
Yes.
information. The next Google Classroom show us how to put students in and fill out Google Forms. We'll get started on explaining a few of those things. Google Galore is where you'll have the opportunity to create. Thank you very much. See y'all later.
Yes. Thank you.